Welcome to Macro Monday on Investec Focus Radio SA, a podcast about what's driving global and local markets. I'm Chris Holdsworth, Chief Investment Strategist at Investec Wealth and Investment. Every Monday morning, I'll update you on key developments from the past week and what you need to know about the week ahead. If you'd prefer to watch a video with the graphs and charts I referred to in the podcast, just go to investec.com/Macro Monday.
This week, we'll look at the latest developments in Iran. We'll look at some key growth and inflation dynamics in both Europe and the US. We'll also look at some softening economic data out of China. And finally, we'll have a look at some encouraging news coming out of South Africa. Over the weekend, there were various pronouncements made related to the war in Iran. And according to US President Donald Trump, the US and Iran are closer to reaching a deal. At this point in time, the details around the potential deal remain vague, but the market has been excited by the progress that has been made so far. Brent crude prices at this point are down around 5%, and Asian markets are rallying on the news. What will be key is when the Strait of Hormuz will open and return to normal traffic. At this point in time, there's around a 50% probability that the strait will return to normal traffic by the end of next month. What will also be key is discussions related to Iran's nuclear program, with the US seeking complete disarmament from Iran, but that has been a sore point from a discussions perspective over the last few weeks. Given the risks around inflation and the inflation outlook due to the war in Iran, we've seen a fairly sizable rise in 30-year government bond yields across various countries. In fact, at this point in time, they are at multi-decade highs. What this tells us is that the inflation outlook is increasingly precarious, but then it also tells us there's also increasing fiscal risk. In terms of real yields and break-evens, we can see that from a US perspective, we are expecting both higher inflation and higher growth. The picture is somewhat different in other countries, particularly in Europe, where you are expecting higher inflation but lower growth. Staying on the growth theme, last week we had the Dallas Fed Weekly Economic Index, which we saw a sizable rally. In terms of this Weekly Economic Index, it does suggest that the US economy remains buoyant at this time, despite the inflationary impacts of the Iran war. We've seen gasoline prices rise substantially, and of course, from an inflationary perspective, you'd always expect that when you have higher inflation dynamics, then that should erode consumer incomes. But at this point in time, a combination of consumer behavior, labor market dynamics, and production tells us that the US economy remains relatively healthy. And inflation, when we look at the market forecast for future years on current break-evens, we can see that inflation is expected to be higher this year at 3.1% on average. We'll remember that the last inflation print came out at 3.8%, and there's only a gradual move to the 2% level over the next 9 years or so. So the US Fed will be seized with trying to contain inflation. At this point in time, the market is expecting the US Fed to hike by 25 basis points only once over the coming year, but the Fed will be seized with the inflation dynamics as well as growth dynamics too. So they are in a tricky situation, and the more elevated inflation becomes, then the higher likelihood that the US Fed can hike even more than the market is currently expecting, which typically is associated with inducing some kind of economic slowdown in order to contain inflation. On the opposite end of the scale, in Europe, the consumer picture is deteriorating quite quickly. We saw a marginal recovery in consumer confidence last week, but still remaining at multi-year lows. In fact, this is the lowest consumer confidence reading for Europe outside of last month and since around the Eastern European conflict, when we had a significant inflationary challenge in Europe, given the prevailing energy prices and the dynamics of trade of gas between Europe and Russia. And the inflation outlook is already deteriorating quite quickly. In fact, we've had the first PPI reading for one of the major economies, which was Germany. We'd seen negative year-on-year producer inflation over the last year or so, fairly consistently, but we've seen quite a sizable rise in producer inflation last month, coming out at just below 2%. And producer inflation is typically a leading indicator of the direction of consumer prices. So the ECB will be seized with prevailing inflation conditions. There's already some anecdotal evidence that there is starting to be an inflation problem, seeing through the German PPI reading. As more PPI data becomes available, then it will give us a greater sense of what is happening from an inflation perspective in Europe. But the growth picture is telling us something a little bit different at this point in time. As we've mentioned, that typically in a high inflation environment and when rates are increasing, then that does induce some kind of economic slowdown. But what we've seen out of Europe is increasing PMIs. It remains to be seen whether that is a function of a front loading ahead of the potential inflationary impact of the war in Iran. But what we can tell you at this point in time is that there has been a disconnect between what's happening with European PMIs and what is happening with cyclical components of the Stoxx 600, which have become under pressure over the last couple of weeks. So there is a disconnect at this point between cyclicals and prevailing PMI readings. And should the economy deteriorate due to elevated or increasing rates and an inflationary problem, then you would expect PMIs to come under pressure. And that may find its way through the channel of cyclical underperformance in Europe, given weak PMIs. Switching over into China, last week we had the People's Bank of China. They kept rates unchanged and they kept their required deposit reserve ratio unchanged too. We've been signaling for the last few weeks that the economic environment in China appears to be slowing. One of the key metrics that we continue to monitor is total social finance, which has been weak for the last few months. And from a monetary perspective, we are not seeing that stimulus coming through as yet. In fact, last week we had a weak retail sales print out of China. We had a weak industrial production print, and we see house prices or new house prices remaining negative month on month. So that does tell us that the consumer is still in a precarious position in China, but inflation conditions in China remain benign, sitting around 1.2% year on year. That tells us that there's ample scope for the People's Bank of China to continue to stimulate in this environment. It's a different picture to what you're seeing in the US, where the central bank or the US Fed is expected to hike at least once by 25 basis points over the coming year. It's different to Europe, where the ECB is expected to hike interest rates by 25 basis points 3 times over the coming year, where actually China is in a position to cut in this environment. Switching over into South Africa, last week we had South Africa's inflation print, which came out at 4% in April. The South African Reserve Bank will likely be concerned about this reading. The South African Reserve Bank will be meeting this week, and we continue to highlight that South African Reserve Bank, in its hawkish signaling so far, is primarily concerned with managing the second round inflationary or potential inflationary impact of the war in Iran. But it's not all bad news out of South Africa. Towards the end of last week, we had the latest update from Moody's, and they have upgraded South Africa's outlook from a credit rating perspective, upgrading us from a stable outlook to a positive outlook. But there is a disconnect because there has been improving macroeconomic fundamentals in South Africa. But when we look at our valuations for the SA market, you can see that the SA market is still trading at a significant discount to history. at a discount of between 20 and 25% and a PE or forward PE of just under 10. Improving macroeconomic fundamentals should be supportive of a recovery in valuations over the coming months and years. And that is where we're going to leave it.
That's all for this episode. Do tune in next week for more investment insights from me, Chris Holdsworth, and the Investec Wealth and Investment team. If you haven't yet added us to your podcast feed, you can subscribe to Investec Focus Radio SA wherever you listen. And please take a minute to rate our podcast so we can surface this content to the broader investment community. If you want to see the graphs that are referenced in the podcast, you can watch a video version of this recording at investec.com/Macro Monday.
The views expressed are those of the contributors at the time of publication and do not necessarily represent the views of Investec Wealth and Investment International and should not be taken as advice, guidance, or recommendation. Investec Wealth and Investment International, a member of the JSE Equity, Equity Derivatives, Currency Derivatives, Bond Derivatives, and Interest Rate Derivatives markets, an authorized financial services provider and a registered credit provider.